Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial on how to make a basic model. The first thing we're going to do is open up what we've already made, which was like part 1, if you remember. There it is, the chicken bone. And in this tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to make a bearing for the top of this shape, and we're going to make a little spike, so the foot tip. Okay, nothing to worry about, it's going to be very easy to do. Now, we already know that this is 50 units from the floor. Okay, we covered that yesterday, so we know exactly in the Bryce arena where it is. We need to bring in now a sphere, because we're going to make a little bearing that fits on the top of here. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on a sphere, which is down here, and I'm going to manually bring it up using Y to be just above that. Yes, I know it looks like a remote control wand for a PS3, you know, the glowing one. That's not the model we're going to make. Right, so I'm going to change the color of that sphere to black. Whatever color you're using, change it to that. Okay. Now, as we discussed on making this a certain height, so we know how and where to bring all the other parts into to line it up. This one is much the same. If we go to attributes, you'll notice that it's 81 units from the ground, or 81.41 units. That's a little bit awkward to learn or remember that one, so let's just make it 80 units. Okay, 80 units from the ground, dead center, 80 units from the ground. We click on render. Okay, so now we know exactly that that's dead center and 80 from the ground, right? And the reason for that is now I need a cylinder. So I'm going to click on the cylinder, and I'm also going to make that 80 units from the ground, so it overlaps this sphere we've just created. Okay, I'm going to change it to gold. I'm going to go into its attributes, and the only thing I'm going to change in here is the height, which is Y. Okay, the top and the bottom. I'm going to make it narrower, so I'm going to type in 6. Okay, so now we have that. It looks like there's a band going through the sphere, gives the illusion of being a bearing. Okay, now all bearings have a pin that run right through the center, so now we're going to make a pin. Not bringing anything else in, we're going to use what we already have. I'm going to Control and D to make a replica of this band we've just created. I'm going to go into its attributes, and knowing that a Bryce sphere is 20.48 units around, you can see that reflected down here with the width of this band. I'm going to make the height of our new selected cylinder slightly bigger than that, so I'm going to make it 21 units high. Okay, so it will just protrude above and below this sphere. Now I don't need it to be as wide or as deep, it needs to be quite narrow, so I'm going to go around to the X and I'm going to type in the number 4, and on the Z I'm going to type in the number 4. So now we've click on OK, and we've made the pin that runs through this sphere at the bottom with the band around it. Okay, gives the illusion of a bearing. Now if we group this all together, the bearing is complete. Now there is a problem, however. Not only is the bearing too big, it's orientated the wrong way. I want it to be round 90 degrees, okay, to the left or to the right. Now what we need to do is in edit, up here there's two ways of doing this. Now you can manually grab the sphere using the rotate tool up here, which you'll see X, Y and Z, and as soon as I do that, down here this polygon thing will be replaced with a little counter that will show you the degrees of rotation, like that. You can move that around and get it to 90 degrees, which can be a bit fiddly, like that. Okay. Or I'll just Control Z it back to where it was. Find the way you want it to rotate, which is that way. Okay. Leave it in that squiffy ski width position. Go to attributes and look down and see which bit has been affected. Well, that's the rotation that it's moving, okay, which is on the Z. Well, I don't want it to be 41.450 units, I want it to be 90. So I'm going to backspace that and type in 90. I'm going to click OK. The sphere is now the right way round, okay. So I've just used the Z rotation to rotate it 90 degrees, okay. You got that? I'll show you again. Put it back to where it was. We had it like that. So I'm going to go into the attributes and type in 90 on the Z. And it's just flipped it 90 degrees. Easy. Now, of course, the bearing is around the right way, but it's way too big. Now, because this bearing is symmetrical, as you can see down here, near enough symmetrical, it's 20.48 by 21 by 20.48. I'm going to make it a uniform size, smaller. Okay, so I'm going to back step the X, and I'm going to try to make it 10 in all of its axes. Okay, so X, Y, and Z now 10. Click on OK, and you shrunk down the size of that bearing. And I'm thinking, yep, maybe it's a little bit too small. So let's try 12 instead. Just make it the size that you think looks right. You know, don't go by my word, but what do you think looks right? And with that, I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm going to lower this shape down so it just begins to go into the top part of that leg joint, okay? Like so. So it gives the illusion that this is connected to a bearing. Once you're happy with that, we're going to group both these together, and there you go. You have a bearing and a leg joint. Okay, easy peasy. Remember, this is just purely basic modeling. Okay, now I want to make a leg tip, like a spike on the bottom of this, because this is going to be the bottom part of the leg. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to replicate this over and over again to make the complete leg, and that's what we'll be doing next time. Okay, but for now, all we're going to do is make a spike that goes down here on the bottom of the foot. So in Create, we are going to make a cone. All right. Now the cone itself is too big and it's upside down. Before we flip this upside down, we're going to make it smaller. Now we made that that size, so I'm going to make this quite narrow and quite pointy. Okay, so I'm going to try 8 across in the X, 8 across in the Z, and I'm going to make the Y 30. Let's see what that looks like. That's quite pointy. I'm going to flip it upside down by telling it to flip Y, and that way we can have a look at it and think, does that work? Yeah, that kind of works. It may be inside the model a little bit too far, so we can raise this up, and that will do. Okay, and that way you can group all of that together, and now you have a foot or a leg tip. Okay, that wasn't very hard, was it? No, see, none of that awkward and mind-bending intersecting stuff, you know, just basic shapes, group them together like an erector set. Right, now I'm going to save that, and I'm going to call it leg tip. Okay, 1, and save. And that's it. We've saved it exactly in that position, and we're ready now to basically construct the leg, okay, which is going to be a bit more involved, but it will show you things like rotating and changing the point of origin or where an object rotates. Okay, sounds a bit confusing, I know, but that's in the next one. So in the next video we'll be showing you how to take this and make a whole leg out of it, and then we'll move on to the body, the head and the thorax. Okay, jolly good. Right, for now that's part 2 done. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions or maybe confused by some of the moves I've done, give me a shout and I'll see what I can do for you. So until then, this is me, Steve, saying goodbye. Thanks for watching.